Welcome back to the home of all things ballroom dance. And today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into a topic I've previously touched on regarding verbal abuse inside of ballroom dance studios. And I'll share some personal stories that I've experienced, okay? For the record, the vast majority of time in ballroom dance studios is joyful, is wonderful, but I'm going to share a couple stories because sometimes drama does erupt. And if you're in that circumstance, I don't want you to worry that it's permanent. There's always other options and ways you can address this if it's something you've encountered. Okay? So I do understand the vast majority of time when you walk into that ballroom dance studio, it feels glittery and happy for 99.99% of the students. And that's how it should be. If the owner and the teachers are doing a good job. So shout out to them. Otherwise, the students won't come back, and it's like a cancer in your studio culture. But I have seen yelling break out in the studio environment. And it plays out in several different ways. Number one, I had a teacher yelling at me. Now, the vast majority of time, this has happened just on the phone. And this has been actually only 2 teachers ever. But anyway, one of them was over the top. I did end up kicking this person out. Anyway, he was filled with rage about some sort of petty thing. He was a diva. And I had an infant at the time. She was in the back seat of my car asleep, so I'm just sitting outside the front doors. You know how it goes, moms. I don't want to wake the baby up because she's finally sleeping. So I'm in there, and these days you have a cell phone. You can get so much work done on your phone. This McDouche barges out of the studio front doors, and he bangs on my car window. Like, honest to goodness, I thought he was going to break it in. It was terrifying. Like, I had fight or flight, thinking this guy was going to beat me up. Screaming at me through this window. He wanted some sort of exception for his floor fees. And news for you guys, I have a lot of connections in this industry. The whole reason I had him pay his floor fees up front every day is because he had stolen from several different studios when he skipped town and never paid his floor fees. But of course, I'm not going to out my friends who share this stuff with me, but certainly I'm going to enforce tight rules for you if you're a crook. You're lucky I let you in the doors. Okay, so usually it's the owner subjected to the yelling, as well as, I'll say, co-teachers. And in my experience, this transpires between teacher to teacher when the students are not there. Did yelling matches occur behind the scenes between the teachers? Yes, they are human beings. And honestly, ballroom dancers can be a little artistic in nature, and there's some upsides to that and some downsides. So the worst screaming in terms of my emotional well-being is when the teacher screams at their student. And I have worked with 2 different teachers that did this to their students, and I did kick them out. Okay, so I had heard one guy was challenging to work with, but he was always sweet as pie to me. Of course, he's going to kiss my booty because I'm the owner. But I was in my office and I heard this crazy screaming, and I'm thinking, is there a fight going on? So I walk out of my office to go in there and help with the problem. And he is screaming in his student's face. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. First of all, this was his most loyal student. Very long term, took a ton of lessons with him. As such, was his most skilled student. I was shocked at how nasty and belittling and disrespectful he was to this student. And they both looked at me, and she looked at me in shame. And he looked at me in shock, which it turns out he didn't know I was at work. I hadn't parked in my spot that day. Thank goodness I didn't, because I caught him in the act. But my heart just went out to her. It still upsets me to this day. Of all the people you should be taking care of, it's your clients. Those are your customers. It's not a dog. I wouldn't even talk to a pet like that. Horrid. And the sad thing was, he didn't look at me in shame. He was just like, oops, what are you doing here? She looked at me like she was ashamed. And you know what, guys? If this happens to you, whether it's your partner yelling at you or an employee yelling at you, a coworker yelling at you, your teacher yelling at you, you are not the problem. You have nothing to be ashamed about. If someone were to catch that in the act, they are not looking down on you. They have nothing but compassion for you, because at some point, somewhere in our lives, all of us have been in that situation where we're under attack. They're looking at your pro with shame. Shame on him. Guarantee it. There is no one out there like, darn tootin', you tell her. And secondly, anytime I've seen that, it has been because the student has outgrown the skill of the teacher coaching them. And the coach is just upset and I guess trying to berate them so they feel inferior and they don't leave, almost like an abusive spouse situation. All sorts of just nasty feelings inside. Now, I'm not talking about occasionally you're jacked up about a call. Everyone, I suppose, is going to have a bad day, but I'm talking about 10 minutes of condescending, spiteful, nasty words. And apparently this is not the only student this had happened to. Of course, you never get wind of the whole iceberg until that tip of the iceberg comes out. So I found out about this stuff later. If it does happen, pull your studio owner aside. They do not want that in their studio. They will, at a minimum, talk to that pro. And what I did is I talked to those victims privately and I said, do you want me to kick them out? Or do you want me to tell them that I caught you? If you do it again, I'll kick you out. I basically left it up to the victim. How are you gonna feel most comfortable with me taking the reins from here? And I will take the reins from here. That's my job as the owner. And I never outed that student like, so-and-so said you. I just can't even fathom any owner doing that to you. Behind closed doors, we are dealing with some inflated egos. Yelling usually has to do with sharing floor space, accused of playing the music too loud, or one pro accusing another of stealing students. Now, we all know you really can't steal a student. If a student leaves, it's for a reason, and whatever that reason is, the student hopefully is going to tell you before they leave you. My concern with any sort of yelling, whether it's at the student, between partnerships, employees, this stuff spreads like a virus. And I really, as the owner, want to know if something like that is going on, because even if it's just two amateur students fighting each other over, this is how you do the figure, it spreads, guys. And all we need is to suck the joy out of our dance community and get people to quit is a bunch of drama and fighting and screaming when you walk into the studio. So please alert your studio owner in private. And if it's your owner screaming, just get out of Dodge. There's always another option. I do not care how amazing of a dancer that person is. You are going to learn more in a peaceful environment. I am painting a broad brush here. There was a pro, I won't mention names, who all of my friends hated taking from. I loved taking lessons with her, but I never once felt that like a personal attack or her talking to me as if I had no potential. But there is a difference between yelling and excitement and emotionally invested in my improvement. But all they do is waste your lesson time screaming at how much you suck. Time to move on. Okay, so anyway, if you're in that situation, there is an out. So anyway, that's the real scoop and what goes on behind the scenes. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you tomorrow. And if you would like to hear more stuff about the real world of ballroom dance, hey, subscribe to my channel. I'd love to see you. Okay, talk to you soon, guys. Have a great day. Bye.